My name is Lucy and I work for Doxity. This is Hanze University of Applied Sciences. Study and develop your career in the Netherlands. I hope you enjoy this webinar and I leave the floor to Monique.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Hello, everybody. I hear there's a lot of countries that are represented here in the attendees, which I'm very happy about. I hope you'll enjoy this webinar and don't hesitate to ask any questions about what we're saying, whether it's from me or from Mark or from Lisa. We're all here to help you in your process concerning studying abroad and how to decide on that. And I hope our presentation and our answers may help you a little bit more on your journey towards that decision. So I'll briefly give a presentation about who we are as Hanze University of Applied Sciences, with a specific focus on also what we consider to be one of our strong points, namely that's to prepare students for the work floor, for the labor market. And I'll briefly go through the presentation with you. And again, don't hesitate to ask questions that we hopefully can answer after the presentation. So let me first introduce you to our university, Hanze University of Applied Sciences. The word applied sciences has not so much to do with sciences as with the fact that we are an applied university, which means that our university focuses a lot on the labor market and on applying the knowledge that you gain through the program in real life practice. So that's applied sciences for you. We're the oldest university of applied sciences in the Netherlands, and we are the largest in the northern part of the Netherlands. We also what we call a comprehensive university, so you'll find most of the domains in which you could study at our university, whether it's business, arts, engineering, sports studies, physiotherapy, nursing, finance and control. We have loads of programs, and a lot of those are also in English. Besides studying, we also have research, and the research is in similar domains as where we have our study programs. We have a lot of our own research centers and centers of expertise. I'll tell you a bit more about that later. As I said, we are very much about applied, and one of the things that is typical of our university is that we have obligatory internships. So all our students, whether they are in a three-year program, four-year program, master's, bachelor's, they will all apply their knowledge at some point, usually through internships as a very important part. And internships are with us 1 semester of minimum in every program that we have here at Hanze. Okay. As I said, we are comprehensive and we are large. Right now, a student count is just under 30,000 students. It seems like a lot, but we have divided those students into smaller units through the schools. So most students don't feel like they're part of a very big university, but much more part of a smaller unit, which we call schools in our university. So basically, you'll be part of a community that is maybe between the 500 and 1,500 students. And the 30,000 is more the total university. More than 2,700 students of those are international. So that means that 10% of our students are coming from over 115 countries. And if you're in an international program, for example, in communication or international business or in mechanical engineering, the number of international students is of course higher because those programs are geared towards international students. So you'll find a lot of classmates coming from all over the world, from countries where you yourselves come from, whether it's Brazil or Russia or Taiwan or Germany or it's Italy, they'll come from everywhere. A little bit about some pictures on us and our city. This is our campus. As you can see, I think it's a very pretty campus. It's got lots of trees, lots of green, but also sports facilities. We've got lots of restaurants, cafes, coffee shops. You can do a lot of relaxing at campus, and when the weather is beautiful, as in spring, you'll see lots of students relaxing on the grass and getting their books out and just do it outside instead of inside. This is one of our sports facilities, only in summer, I'm afraid. So that's our beach volleyball. And the building you see behind it is our sports center. We also have our huge swimming pool on campus. So if you feel like diving in before you want to go to lectures, feel free. Our students can get a student sports card for very little money, and then they can make free use of the swimming pool at certain times of the day. So you can actually be in 5 minutes from the swimming pool to your lectures or the other way around. When you talk about Groningen, you'll find that we are in the middle of Europe. And that's one of the things I think I like very much about Groningen. I started studying in Groningen because I liked it as a student city, but it's also a city that is very approachable. When you look at the small map, you see that we are only a few hours from London, from Paris, from Eindhoven, which has a huge airport, but also from Bremen. And Bremen in Germany also has an airport that will allow you to go everywhere in Europe and around the world. So Groningen is pretty much accessible from many different sides, and most of our students will spend quite a few weekends exploring Europe and maybe beyond. Because it's not only about studying. Groningen is also about living a nice student life and getting to see more of the entire country and the entire region. So Groningen itself has a bit over 230,000 inhabitants. Sounds like not so many, but in the Netherlands, that is a city. So yeah, cities in the Netherlands are a bit smaller when you look to other countries. Cities might be millions and millions, and we have hundreds of thousands, and that's it. But it's still a city. And when you look at the numbers of students, you see that actually almost one-third, between a third and fourth of our population is students. So that means lots of young people in the city center, lots of facilities, and lots of fun in the city center. We were voted best student city a couple of years. And I think that's mainly because it's not only about the nightlife, but also we are safe. Students can walk and cycle around without being afraid. We have very good sports facilities. We have a high quality of living. And we are in an area that is really beautiful also for relaxing and cycling and water sports. Beside that, Groningen is also a very cultural city. So we have lots of arts, we have beautiful history, we are over 1,000 years old, and we have beautiful museums, cultural festival, etc. A bit more pictures of the city. This is our train station, which is one of the most beautiful in the Netherlands. And as you can see here, we are a bit like Amsterdam, because if you look at pictures of Amsterdam, you'll often see the canals. And Groningen is sometimes referred to as small Amsterdam or little Amsterdam, because we have the canals, but we don't have the tourist traps. So we have the best of both worlds. It's still pretty quiet compared to Amsterdam, but it's got the beautiful views. This is an impression of our markets. We are an old city, so we have the traditional markets where you can actually buy lots of groceries for very low prices. I think a lot of students find those very quickly and make use of them. I think Lisa is already nodding like, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, and they know when to buy the stuff, so it's very cheap. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay, sorry about this. I'm going the wrong way, I think. Okay. Talk about Hanze University again. Hanze University of Applied Sciences has quite a few of winning programs. We call them top-rated programs. Those are programs that are highly appreciated by our students and on a national level. We are also the winner of the best studies with 9 gold medals in the Netherlands. As I said, we were already voted the best University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands. And very important, I think, for a couple of for many students, is that we have a huge focus on entrepreneurship. We are #1 in the Netherlands and #5 in the world when it comes to graduate companies. So we have huge numbers of students who start their own companies based on what they learn at the university. And the last couple of years, that number has been between 350 and 500 students per year, starting their own companies. And we have quite a few very successful entrepreneurs. One is in the Silicon Valley, a multi-million company. And I think we have a really successful Chinese alumnus who is among the best young entrepreneurs in China. So when you look at what can you study at our university, we've got, these are the international programs. So we have 14 bachelors, 13 masters, and over 15 exchange programs. Exchange programs not only for incoming students, but our students also go on exchange programs to other partners around the world. And every school has usually around 100 partners where our students can go to for an exchange program. So what is our bachelor? When you look at our bachelor's programs, I'm going to very briefly, I'm not going to tell you all about the bachelor programs themselves, because that would take me way too long, and I've only got like 20 minutes, I think. So just an overview, and you can find it back when you get the presentation later. But as you can see, we have a wide range of programs in engineering, in business, in art, health, and communication. Some of them are 3 years, some of them are 4 years. Same for master's programs. We have them in a wide range of domains and similar domains as we had for the other ones. Communication, engineering, business, and arts. They are usually a bit more specialized than the bachelor's programs. What can you expect when you go and study at Hanze? Well, basically, and that's not only because you go study abroad, but we try to challenge our students to get out of their comfort zone, to do more than what they thought they could do. Learn how to work with business cases, how to work in teams, how to work in intercultural settings. Your English is going to be increasing very fast because you have to speak and read and write English all the time. So if you hadn't been very fluent before, you'll very quickly be very fluent by the time you'll be here for a year. Lots of the work that we do is group work. So you'll be working with students from all over the world in your program, and their backgrounds and their cultural differences will also have an impact on your learning. And that's, I think, one of the major surplus values of studying in this kind of environment. Our lecturers, as Mark will probably tell you later, are usually very easy to reach. One of the things, of course, is that a lot of teachers or lecturers are approachable, often on a first-name basis. They're more coaches and tutors often than that they are lecturers, and they're really very willing to help students in their personal process. Besides the lecturers, we also have academic advisors, and they will help you with your choices, whether it's student choices, personal choices, but they can help you with any problems or guidance that you need during your student journey here at Hanze. Very briefly, our educational system, we work with ECTS, and that's a study credit system, 60 ECTS a year. And very important for you to know is that for the first year, you need to get at least 48 ECTS to be able to continue in your second year. So the first year is pretty important when it comes down to getting your study together and making sure you get your credits. Most of our years are divided into semesters, and those semesters into blocks. So you won't have like once a year exams or even twice a year exams. You probably have 4 times a year a block of exams or reports or presentations. We don't do only exams. We do reflection. We do products that people have to make, reports, presentations. So there's all kinds of different way of assessment that you get. And we also have resits. we believe that not everybody necessarily needs to do it right in the first time. So we do give people an opportunity to do something again. And that can be based on very different aspects why you didn't make it in the first time. But we tend to believe that students really want to work hard and that they might need a resit to be able to succeed in their program. What is very important, you see reflection papers. Very important with us is that students take their own responsibility. So a lot of your student journey here at Hanze is also about getting your own discipline going, being very aware of your own weaknesses, your own strengths, learning to reflect on that, to build on that, and to improve on that. And that makes you not only better as a student, but also as a person, we believe. And I think that's a very important aspect of studying. So it's not all about knowledge. It's also about becoming, maturing as a person. Wait a minute. So, as we said earlier, a lot of our programs have internships and graduation projects. When you've done a 4-year program with us, a bachelor program, you will have a minimum of 2 semesters of work experience. So you'll be having an internship in your 3rd year and a graduation project in your 4th year. So by the time you graduate, you can put on your CV that you've had experience in 2 companies or 2 organizations, or maybe in something like our living labs. For example, one of our living labs is entrance. We have living labs for all the students, and a living lab is actually not a physical thing necessarily, but a living lab is a project where students, researchers, lecturers, and external organizations, companies work together on finding a certain solution to a certain real-life problem. And those can be social, engineering, business, healthcare problems that come from society and where our students participate in research to gain that kind of knowledge as well. So a lot of the work that they do is also on campus. For example, we have an energy research center called Energy Transition Center, which has more than 200 partners, which are all potential employers, because there are organizations within the region, but also international, that work together with us on energy problems. This is all about creating renewable energy and making the transition from fossil fuel to sustainable energy. It's a center that is highly successful and has become best practice in the world. It was opened by our King Willem-Alexander, and he's been visiting a couple of times because he was really impressed with the way they are doing research there. A lot of our students spend some time at Entrance in one of the research projects that they have. And they have a lot of facilities there also to do experiments and to do pilots. Another one of our very popular destinations is the Startup City. And Startup City is actually a form of an incubator. It's our own Silicon Valley. As I said, we have a lot of student companies. And the Startup City is actually where students can start their companies, can get support, can even get funding if they have a good business case, and that funding can go up to 10,000 euros. But they can also just find a place there to do their work, get some coaching, get support, can have their questions answered, and get help to start their own company. And it's a really an environment which is really inspirational for students who want to do their own company, because they are joined by others in the same situation. When we talk about studying at Hanze, some of you may be interested in scholarships. I'm going to do it very briefly. We have a couple of scholarships of our own called Hanze scholarships. They are 10,000 euros, but they're only for master's programs. So if you're interested in a bachelor program, I'm afraid that's a bit more difficult. We also have a Holland scholarship, which is 5,000 euros. These are all annual scholarships. And we have some specific scholarships for our music and arts programs. When you look at the overview, which you can see later when you get the entire presentation, You can see how much they are for which programs. Interestingly, if you want to apply for a scholarship, you still have some time, because our deadlines for most of our scholarships is the 30th of April. So if you're quick these next few weeks within application admissions, you might be able to apply for the scholarship as well. And we would know by half June whether you have been accepted into a scholarship or not. Be aware, all of these scholarships are very competitive. So there's a lot of students applying for them, and only a few getting them. Okay, I'm going through application. I know a lot of questions will probably be about application and deadlines. I'm not going to go into very much detail here, because you'll find it in the presentation. Just be aware that for non-EU students, our deadline is the 1st of June. You can no longer apply for physiotherapy, we work with a national system called StudyLink, which is our national registration system for applications, that if you want to apply, that's the first step you take. You create an account there, and once you've done that and submitted your application there, then Hanze takes over with our internal application module. And they will ask you to submit the documents and provide all the necessary proof for eligibility that you need. And then usually within 2 weeks, you will get information whether you have been admitted or not. Tuition fee for our non-EU students is usually 7,900 euros for the first year, and for all years actually. And physiotherapy is the only one that is a bit more expensive. And there's 2 master's programs that are much more expensive because they are non-funded programs. Those are 2 business programs, Master of International Business Management and the MBA. Living expenses, very important. It's not very expensive to live in Groningen compared to some other cities in the world. So if you are not too extravagant in your spendings, I'd say you probably will be able to work with 750 euros a month, and that includes accommodation. And then for a visa application, be aware that you will need to pay the financial guarantee plus the tuition for the first year to be able to get a visa. Accommodation, yes. We don't have campuses where you can live on campus. Our students live in the city. I'm sure Lisa will tell you a bit more about her experience of living in the city. I think it's great to be living in the city, because that's where I think all the things are going on, all the vibrancy is. And we have a deal with a housing office that will help our non-EU students to find accommodation as of the beginning of May. If you have been accepted into a program, we will send you information about the housing possibilities and how to register for the housing office. And once you get that going, you can apply and choose a room, pay the deposit, and off you go. There's one thing: you need to start early. So if you have been admitted now, make sure you'll be quick in applying and registering for housing, because the rooms are there, but the ones who decide late will probably not be able to get one. So that was mostly about Hanze. If you want to find us, especially our students are doing a lot of things online, sharing information, sharing videos, talking to you, chatting to you. So do and find them, because they are the ones that can give you the real life experience of a student on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. We also have a WhatsApp address if you use WhatsApp. So find our students, they can help you with all kinds of information. And I'll leave this slide standing for you, because you can find the HIS team at hanze.nl. That's our international student team, and their mobile phone number. So if you have any questions for them, don't hesitate and talk to them. So this is, I think, most of what I wanted to say. So I'll probably give the word to Mark now. Mark Kierans, our lecturer at the International Business School, so that he can say a bit more from his perspective.
Well, gosh, that was Monique. First of all, thank you very, very much for that very kind introduction and the wealth of information. I'd like to remind you that we do have a Q&A session set up. So if there are some special questions that Monique brought up and you'd like us to go back over them, please just, type the question. Lucy's going to moderate the questions, so she'll put them together for you. I'd like to also say the same thing about any comments that I make or remarks that I make. If you think that they should be followed up a little bit more, or you want me to go a little bit deeper, very happy to. I've been with the university for about 25 years. I've taught in many of our English language programs, including international business studies, facility management, international communication. I'll stay a little bit away from that one, won't go too far since we have an expert. And also our marketing management program. I'm going to try to give you the perspective that I have as a senior lecturer over what we're trying to do. And I think we'll get some comments later on if you want more about that. We're trying to help you develop skills. The skills, knowledge, and attitudinal components that you're going to need, regardless of what you study in, whether it's physiotherapy or international communication. There's a variety of things that everybody has to develop. Some of you will come to the university with excellent verbal skills, so you may have to look a little bit more closely on written skills, and of course vice versa for other people. What we will do for you is in all programs is we can provide you with information before you arrive about what our expectations are. And we can do that through students that we have, either through other people that are more intimate with the specific program that you would like to talk about. Obviously, university is a huge step. For some of you, doing a bachelor's may be the last time you come into contact with higher education. Hope not. Master's is the new bachelor's, as it were, or at least that's what I feel. But for some of you, this is a huge step, certainly coming from around the world. I came to Groningen from Canada via the Caribbean and one of those odd sort of trajectories. So I have some sensitivity about what it's like to come from the outside. I can tell you that this country has been outstanding to me and my family. It's a good place to live. It's a very, very good place to live, as are many other places around the world. One of the things that Monique brought up was the idea that we are a university of applied sciences. And one of the ways in which we ask you to demonstrate that, all programs have some type of internship that you must complete prior to graduation. In one program, it may be 6 months. In another one, it may be a year, split up over the 4 years. And that's essential, as Monique brought up. There's a lot that you're going to experience inside a classroom, whether it's your own individual learning, whether it's about getting together with other people in a project group from around the corner and from around the world. But one of the things I know that students look forward to is their opportunity to go into the business or into the organization that best fits them and what they're studying. We as teachers often notice a big difference in students before they go on placement and when they return from placement. They have a kind of a different view of the world. If you end up in Tokyo doing a placement, well, you got to learn how to use the subway system and the banking system and grocery stores and all of that. And these are also skills that you're going to develop within yourself that will help you not only navigate the situation that you're in, but also give you some of those tools that you're going to need later on in life when you decide that, maybe now you'd like to live in South Korea and what's it like there? Or we have some people from South Africa. Hey, South Africa. So we try to provide you with the experiences there. I've also was asked to speak a little bit about the master's programs, and Monique has provided you with some of the technical information when it comes to that. But I can talk about them from two perspectives. The first one is I have taught in the master's program, and the other one is I actually did my MBA myself at the Hanze University about 6 or 7 years ago. Content is at the master's level. Content is important, so I won't downplay that. But what I will say is, at least in my opinion, and one that is shared with other master's graduates, it's the connection and the interaction that you have with the other people that are taking the program as well. I can remember many times that some of the lecturers or program people, they would literally be quiet for 45 minutes and just let us as the learners take over the environment and kind of steer it in the direction that we thought that that was appropriate. So while I enjoyed the content aspect of it, the master's level, I really thought that interaction with people, you know, literally from around the world that had experiences and had worked in jobs, petrochemical. I worked with one gentleman from South Korea that worked in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Customs and Immigration, and he was here doing his master's. It's not the kind of experience that you can get really out of a book. The other thing that, and I'll try to make this the last thing that I say in this segment here, is about the idea that you're not a first-year student when you show up at our university. You are a person. You have already have successes in your life. You have decided to continue with that and to go on to higher education. But because you've made the choice to come to University of Applied Sciences, we like to give you that opportunity from the get-go. So Monique spoke about our startup city. She also mentioned that really on day one, if you have an idea that you want to talk to somebody about. Last academic year, I was speaking to actually a student from Italy, and for some reason their family is making gin, as in gin and tonic, so obviously a very cultured gentleman. And he and his brother and a cousin had started this distillery, and they wanted to import gin into the Netherlands. Now, fortunately, you're in the EU, so there are possibilities there. But of course, there are many other things to consider as well, everything from logistics to distribution to promotion. So I marched them up to one of our lectors, and you know, the two of them sat down and had a cup of coffee and are working on some type of plan. Now, this was on the first day that this guy showed up. So we don't wait till second year, we don't wait till third, we don't wait till you graduate. You show up, you have an idea, and we want to see if we can help you express that. Absolutely last story that I'll tell you, a student of mine, Jeff Vanderlaan, who runs a company called Buku, B-U-K-U, I think it's .io, but anyways, it's online textbooks. He developed his idea while he was studying because he couldn't see the value in cutting down trees and giving students textbooks that, you know, are out of date almost the day that they are published in a way. And no disrespect to authors, no disrespect to editors, no disrespect to publishers. But frankly, that's 1950. And so he took that thing that bugged him a lot, and he has now gone around the world and convinced governments, universities to adopt his service, and so that students can have access to a variety of online materials. Teachers can now use 5, 6, 7, 8 different books and pick and choose whatever they think is the most appropriate. He's gone through 3 rounds of funding and has been successful in each round of funding. So this is an example of somebody who took a problem from their time in university, learned a little bit more about technology and business skills and marketing, went out and found some investors, put together a great story and a fantastic, fabulous narrative. And like I said, the guy's on his 3rd round of funding. Not so bad, and he's not 30 years old yet. So this is the kind of environment that we're trying to stimulate. So if you think that this is the right place for you to develop yourself, then we would like to see you here in September. My name's Mark. I'm going to try to zip it now. It's a little bit difficult for me, but that's okay. Hope to see you in September. You got any Q&A questions for me? Fabulous. Monique, back over to you. She's on this side of the screen for me. So dump it over there.
Mark, wonderful story about Buku. I remember I saw his presentation. It's really wonderful. And that gives me a chance, because one of the slides I noticed that I skipped, and I think that's very important in addition to what you're now saying, is that Hanze is all about how to make your career work from day one. So that can be from the starting moment that you come in. And that's why we also say, build your network from day one. Because it's all about networking, about finding the right people, about finding the right projects, about finding your passion. And I remember students that I talked to in their third year, and they told me, oh, I wish I had started this and this before, because now it's a bit late. Whether it's learning Dutch because they wanted to stay in the Netherlands and they decided I want to learn Dutch and it was a bit late. Or whether it was like, oh, now I'm seeing that if I volunteer, or if I go into certain communities, that there's so much value to that. So at Hanze, we try to stimulate people to do all that. So build your network, become a volunteer, whether that is at university, whether that is at one of the student associations, whether that is in one of the other organizations in Groningen or elsewhere, but learn something, working with people, working with other cultures, but also working with other people from other facts of life. That is really going to help your career. Use university. We have so many interdisciplinary projects. We have minors where you can meet students from different programs. You can go on an exchange with other universities. You can go on international internships. So use whatever you have in those 4 years that we provide for you, because by the time you get to the labor market, you will have put all that on your CV. It's going to help you so much. So the 2 semesters of internships, the third year, the graduation project, that is the basis. If you're smart, you can move that to 3 or 4 semesters if you're doing it right, and you can do that in so many different ways by doing an honors program, which gives you plenty of extra opportunities. I think that is the core of our university, is that we really want students to make most of their career from the moment they enter the university. And on that note, I think Lisa is nodding again, so I think it's time for Lisa to tell her story so that she can.
Down there for me, so hey.
She's living the life. So Lisa, can you tell us a bit more about what you're doing?
Yes, right now, as was said, I'm studying at the second year of international communication here at Hanze. I'm working as a student ambassador in Hanze International Student Team. And as was mentioned before about a bunch of student associations that are here in Groningen, I also am a member of UNICEF Groningen Student Team, and doing a lot of activities around the city. So yes, there's a lot of possibilities for students and a lot of interesting things to do in the university, in the city, and it's just a great experience not only to study here, as it was said, to live, but also to participate in many projects around the city.
Thank you very much,
Lisa? Yes.
Okay. Lucy.
Okay.
So, Lisa, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sure.
What has had the most impact on you as a student being at Hanze University?
The most impactful, I think, in the first year we were working on projects, and as was said, we were working on project groups together with people from all around the world. But the most impactful, I think, project for me was when we actually started to work with the clients, with the real clients. So we have cases that are not only just an imaginary report, but we have to we get a problem from the client, from organization. It could be an international organization or somewhere from Groningen or from Netherlands, and we have to give them advice, communication advice in this sense, on one of their problems or topics that they're currently working on. So for me, like the changing moment was our first client, the first project that we were doing for them. It was a guide to Leeuwarden. Leeuwarden is a city in the Netherlands, and they recently had a huge campaign about their city, and our task was to boost their social media pages and get more attention to the city. And it was really exciting to work with and present all together with my classmates to the actual client.
This is really a real life case
experience.
That yeah. Okay. That's precisely what we're saying, what we want students to be doing. That's I think the real life experience that you're talking about. And can you also give me a bit more about what was your major challenge in these past few years in general as a student being here in Groningen in the Netherlands?
I think the major challenge was to adapt to the culture, because as a student from Russia, from Moscow, to me it was all very different. Coming from a big city to Groningen, it was very unusual for me to be able to bike everywhere that I go. So Groningen is not too little, but the fact that you can sit on your bike and in 15 minutes be anywhere you want and go to the university, then back to the city center and all around the city is just amazing, and was kind of even life-changing. I became way more sporty than I was in Moscow. and just adapting to a new culture, language, and the way people interact between each other. And it was a challenge at the beginning, but I think within first 2 to 1 month, I was adjusted, because having friends around you, having people who are literally in the same situation as you are and who are very helpful is really great.
I think the biking is one of the challenges that a lot of international students have.
Yes. It's a very useful tool to know how to bike in the Netherlands. Everyone should prepare for that for sure.
Maybe start a course before they come to the Netherlands.
Yes, true.
So just one last question, and then I think we'll go to the Q&A for the students, but just one last question. So what do you like about student life in general, except for the biking? What do you like about student life in Groningen?
I like mostly about the student life in Groningen that I have so many opportunities to meet people from every single culture, from every single background, and learn from them. I've learned so much from my classmates from my course that I worked in the project groups. I've learned so much from the teachers who I interact almost even now on a regular basis through online classes right now. And the fact that we are so closely connected and we have kind of more of a community between each other, and this was the most precious experience, I think, for me, to be able to connect to everyone that I meet in a way that it's not only beneficial for me in the future, but currently for me to actually love and enjoy living in Netherlands and in Groningen.
Sounds like you're building your network already.
Yes, for sure.
Good. Thank you very much. Lucy, up to you.
Thanks, Monique. Thanks also to Mark and Lisa. Thanks also for staying in time. That was perfect. It's 45 minutes. Let's begin with the questions. I'll let you take a breath before answering everything that our participants want to know. Remember, everyone, that you need to submit your questions, doubts, curiosities on the Q&A section. And for those who are asking, you will receive an email with all this information that you see here, so don't worry about it. If not, tomorrow, Thursday, okay? So check your email. Monique, can we maybe leave the contacts for Hanze so that everyone sees? But as I mentioned, you will receive the phone number and the email to get in touch with Hanze University of Applied Sciences. Monique, I have to ask this question right now because a lot of questions are about the coronavirus, and I imagine that you thought it would be like this. What is Hanze's policy about the coronavirus? Are you going to delay the classes, the admission? What is happening?
Yeah, the problem is so much is happening and so much is still so uncertain. I think for everybody in the world, I think you'll get very few definite answers. I can say a bit about our position. The deadline for applications is the 1st of June. And that hasn't been always the case in the Netherlands, but most universities have moved to the 1st of June. For us, 1st of June is also the application deadline. That is still the way it is. We also advise students to just go through the application procedure. So do everything you need to do, what you normally would have done for applying. So upload the documents that you have. Make sure that we can get you that letter of acceptance. What are we doing? We're considering now, but that's based on how long the crisis will continue. We are exploring ways of having students start in September, maybe through the first few months online, so that they don't need to be here yet, but can already start the program. So there's a few scenarios that we are considering. One of them is starting a few months later, maybe starting an intake in February. So there are different ways that we are exploring to see if we can manage for students to be here even though they cannot be here. So right now we are, of course, like everybody else, getting a lot of experience with online teaching. So by summer, I think we should be quite well versed in that. I'm assuming, but that's just an assumption, that in the next week, 1.5 weeks, we will know more about how to proceed. So for that, I would say make sure that you go to our website of Hanze. There's always a Corona page there. There's always a frequently asked questions page there, and we update that on a daily basis. So if we change things in our application process, in our policy, in our teaching, in our intake, it will all be there. The other thing is, for some students who may not be able to, for example, get their language test going, we are considering doing an online English test through TOEFL, for example. Again, not sure yet, but that is something we are looking into, because we want to be as flexible as we can be for our prospective students. So whatever we can do as a university, we will try to make happen. The problem is that we are also dependent very much on the national associations, on the national government, on the immigration service. So a lot of the decisions are not up to us, but are up to other organizations. But again, we try to be as flexible as we can. And for now, our admissions office is just working as usual. So if a student does have all the documents, just go through the process. And if you have your letter of acceptance, you'll at least know that you will be able to come. And there is one last thing in that. Some people have also been asking questions about, what about housing? And what if I want to reserve a room and I cannot come in the end? Students can go through the housing application process as well. And if through Corona they won't be able to come, they can cancel their reservation without any expense. So they can make the reservation without risks. And I would advise them to do so once they have the chance.
Okay, thanks very much, Monique. I hope this is clear, everyone. If not, please let us know. Monique, Mark, also Lisa, I would like to talk about the languages. We have a few people asking if they need to speak Dutch in order to do the internships. For those who already speak English natively, or for any other reasons are fluent in English, do they need necessarily the IELTS certification? What can you tell me?
Well, first of all, you don't need to learn Dutch. All our international programs provide internships, and our students, our international students, have either internships in English in the Netherlands, or they have internships elsewhere in the world. So no, you don't need to learn Dutch. Having said that, I do advise students to learn Dutch for several reasons. One of them is just for survival. Yeah, Mark says like this, for survival. I think, but that's a personal opinion. I think it's also a token of respect towards the country you live in to learn at least the basics of the language and to get by with a doctor in the store, etc. The other one is, as I already said in the presentation about career, if you decide halfway through your journey that you want to stay in the Netherlands and want to create a career here, it does help if you learn, if you have a good knowledge of the Dutch language. But for to study in an international program, you don't need Dutch. But there's possibilities to learn it. And as I said, there's a couple of students who do it from day one and manage to get an easy side job, manage to start their career, and think that it makes lives easier if they do. But again, not necessary. When it comes down to already being a native or fluent speaker of English, if you are a native speaker, so if you come from an English-speaking country like the US, the UK, several other countries, you don't need an IELTS test. But whether you are fluent and you consider yourself to be fluent is something different. So normally there's only a few countries where we don't require an IELTS test. But if you can show that you have done, for example, a full high school in an English-speaking high school, for example, in an IB school or another one, and you have proof of that your whole program was in English, then you also are exempt from an IELTS test.
Okay. I would like to ask Mark, where is the question? Okay, Mark, would you recommend bachelor students to juggle university and perhaps start a startup business? What do you think?
Yeah, great question. Thank you very much for it. We get it a lot, so that's fabulous. Remember I said a little bit before, you guys are, it's people. And so each one of you is on an individual journey. I told you the story about one student that wanted to start up a business as soon as he got here. What we want you to do is to come in and investigate all the possibilities. So Monique has mentioned this before, create your own network, try to move outside of the immediate people that you're studying with. They're fabulous, but we have so many other programs, so many other people with really great ideas. You want to try to, be in touch with them. Now, having said that, university is a big step for many people from high school into university. And nobody's calling your mama to make sure you're up at 7:30 in the morning, okay? If you don't come to university, that's your business. Now, we do have study advisors that will follow up with you a little bit. So it's very much up to you as an individual. What I can promise you, though, is that when you knock on a door in our university, and you want to talk to somebody about an idea you have, I guarantee you we have somebody that will sit down and have that cup of coffee with you. And so that's a promise we make to you so that you make the best decision for yourself. Mark out.
Thank you very much. I want to ask Lisa, and maybe you can tell us about your colleagues' experience as well. How do employers react when you tell them that you studied in Hanze University of Applied Sciences?
Thank you for the question. Currently, I've been working with the Hanze University mainly as my employer, but actually when we were working with the actual clients throughout Hanze University, all our clients are very grateful for the work that we are doing for them, because every single block and every single project that we are doing for the clients as students of Hanze, we give them not only an advice, but a full research of explanation of everything that can be useful for that clients. So the reaction that they give us is they're usually amazed of how many information we find them and provide them by the end of the block or semester. For example, in second year, we were working with one client for the first semester, and now we're working for another client for the second semester. So I'm right now currently working with the client Cordify, a music app from Groningen, and we're right now doing their research report for them, and in next block we're going to be doing a facilitation for them. So they're also really excited for the next block, and yeah, it's just a really good experience to work with clients, and they're really happy to work with Hanze students.
Thank you very much.
Lucy, can I ask a question to Lisa?
Yes, of course.
Lisa,
Yeah.
I was just talking about learning Dutch, but I
Yes.
think you speak Dutch, right?
I started to learn Dutch recently. Yes, I was wondering whether I should start it from the very beginning when I just came, or should I wait until my the courses, language courses that we have, because in every single program, I think, and especially at IC, International Communication, in the second year, we have to choose 2 courses of languages, and it could be any languages such as Chinese, or German or Dutch or French. And for me, I was choosing between continuing my French that I studied in high school, but as already a citizen of Groningen, I thought that it would be a really nice idea to also explore more the culture, and in order to better adjust, I thought that choosing Dutch was a great idea. And currently I did recently, by the way, my first Dutch exam, and I'm really happy with my result, but there's still so much to improve. I'm still in the very beginning of my journey, but so far I like it.
So do you think it's difficult?
I was really afraid in the very beginning because compared to Russian or even French, Dutch is a little bit of a challenge, I think, for international students. And yes, I think for many it could be a little bit difficult in the beginning, but as you get to actually learn it and step by step, it gets more interesting, and to me it's not as hard as I thought it would be. So I would advise to just start and not to be afraid as I was.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I wanted to ask you a last question, which is about your schedule. Are you busy all day? Do you have time besides studies and your work to, I don't know, maybe go travel or some leisure time? What is your schedule like?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Basically, the schedule for Hanze students are I would say 50-50, because 50% of the time we would spend in university, and for example 3 days out a week we would spend in class during the seminars, lectures or project classes. But for example, other 2 working days, they would divide it to ourselves, and we would spend them for example, for other project work and project meetings, not at Hanze or somewhere in the city, or doing the projects on our own. And also that time we could also spend on the weekends to explore the Netherlands. And I traveled a lot around the Netherlands in the first year when I just came here, and it was a really good balance between it was a big difference between Russia, when everything is so planned and scheduled and every day you know exactly what you're going to be doing, but here you have the flexibility of making your own plan, your own schedule, and see for yourself, do you prefer to study in the library, for example, one day of the week, or at home, or for example meet with your group mates or classmates in the university and proceed there. So it's really flexible and I really like it.
Thanks very much. Monique, Mark, does Hanze have partnerships with other universities, for example, in Latin America? What are the exchanges possibilities like?
I think that, yes, each department or each school generally sets up their own relationships with universities so they can find ones that are compatible. Most schools probably have 35, 40 different universities, depending upon their program. Monique probably has more technical information about exchange programs. But like I said, every school has their own sort of flavor to it. So I'd like to pass over to Monique and have her add something. conversation.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Yeah, we have, as I said, a lot of exchange programs. Actually, as a university, we have hundreds and hundreds of partnerships throughout the world. Most of them are actually in the European Union because most of them are involved in the Erasmus program. Maybe you've heard of that as a student. Erasmus is a European Union program for exchanges between universities, where our students can also get a small grant per month to go to a partner university within the EU. So if you go to one of our partners within the EU as an exchange student, you'll get a small amount of money per month to help you cover the cost. I would say all European Union countries we have partners in. But we also have partners in Australia, in the UK, in the US, in Brazil, in Mexico, in Argentina, in most of the Asian countries. As I said, over hundreds. The only limitation there is that if you do a certain program, the first set of partners is actually the ones that belong to your school or to your program. And if you want to go to a partner that is not part of that set, but is part of the larger set of Hanze, there has to be some kind of negotiation between your school and the other school. I find that mostly the partners within your program are already enough to cover all kinds of wishes that you have. And since, for example, where Lisa is studying communication, they know that they have to have many exchange partners for all their students, so they have a huge network. It can be from Macau to Flagstaff in northern Arizona, to Rio de Janeiro, but also in some countries in the EU.
Monique, don't forget Montreal. We have exchange.
Montreal. We have a partner in Nova Scotia?
I'm from Montreal originally.
Oh, you're from Montreal.
Right, and every time I mention the city, they send me $50. So I just
the one thing is the Erasmus program is for the EU, so that allows students to get a grant. For non-EU partners, there's only bilateral agreements, so there's no Erasmus partnerships there. But there's still the opportunity to go there for a semester.
Okay. We still have a couple of questions. What is the job market like after graduation? Do you have any statistics for those who have already graduated? What are they doing? Are they mainly entrepreneurs? Are they working in big international companies?
Mark, shall I do first briefly and then you tell it from a business perspective? How fast they find a job is a bit different per program, but generally I would say most students find a job that fits into their degree within 3 to 6 months. The nice thing about being a University of Applied Sciences, of being a graduate from a University of Applied Sciences, that a bachelor program already makes you prepared for the labor market. So because you have that work experience of 2 semesters, most employers are really happy to have our graduates because they can go straight to work, while sometimes students, for example, research universities are more academically oriented, which is nice, but they haven't learned yet how to use their competencies. And our students are more versed already in what it is like to be an employee. So most of our students in programs will find jobs very quickly, and then you're talking about usually a 90 to 95% that will find a job within 6 months.
I agree completely. What I've seen over the last 20 years is a transition in 2 specific areas, away from finding a job at 25 and then having them retire you at 65. There's still some people that would like to work for large organizations because they provide tremendous opportunity. Google is a company that a lot of our graduates end up with initially because they're looking for both a structure of an organization, but as well as an ability to be very creative. So we've noticed that. The other thing I've noticed is over the years, more and more interest in NGOs, non-government organizations. In other words, going to work with Médecins Sans Frontières or the Red Cross or any one of the other 200 or 300 NGOs around the world. I actually work for a Dutch NGO and I find it extremely rewarding. And the last thing I'll say is, yes, we have also noticed and responded to, I'd like to add, our students' desire to be much more entrepreneurial and much more quickly. So we've talked about Startup City, we've talked about the entrance program, we've talked about the fact that before you graduate, you have to have business experience. Your fourth-year graduation project is working with a company. I'd say somewhere between 15 and 20% of our students get offered a position either via their study placement or their graduation project. Now, it doesn't mean you have to take it, but basically what employers are doing, it's a 6-month job interview. If you can demonstrate skills consistently over 3 or 4 months or 5 months, however time you're doing it, they've interviewed you. They know who you are, what you're good at, what you still need to become good at. We all do, even me, surprisingly enough. So I think that we've actually demonstrated that the market is changing. The students and what they're looking for is changing as well. So we're trying to provide you with as many different possibilities for you to get experience in so that when you graduate, one last thing, don't forget that master's. Okay, I know bachelor's, you can go to work. Yes, great, cool, fabulous. If that's what you want to do, nothing wrong with that. But please also think about how a master's may also complement other things inside of you. Thanks.
That's very good advice, Mark. Thank you very much. Do Monique or Lisa have any final words? Would you like to add anything else? Besides, of course, we're all waiting for the applications to start coming in.
Well, about labor market and entrepreneurship, just one thing. A couple of the programs will allow students actually to start their own company while studying. So you can make the starting up of your company can be part of your study program. And then your internship might not so much be working at another company, but working on your own business plan, for example, in Startup City. So students who feel that they really want to start their own company can do that while still under the wings of Hanze University of Applied Sciences, with all the support and coaching that they can get through that system, which has allowed students to actually already have a flying start by the time they graduate. So for students who say, I don't want to be in working for a company, don't worry, there's plenty of opportunities to do it.
Great. Lisa, any final advice for your possible future colleagues?
Yes, I just wanted to say that as a second-year student, I'm really excited what is going to happen in the third year and in the fourth year. And for the future prospective students, I personally advise you to look into everything that you possibly can find about the Netherlands, see what interesting associations you can find here in Groningen, because there's so many things, and get your raincoats and umbrellas. And that's also very important because of the weather. And I wish you good luck and hope to see you next year or future years.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Mark, Monique, and Lisa. Thanks to our participants. Also, you sent a lot of questions. For those we couldn't answer, here's the email or the phone number. Just contact directly Hanze. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that you took the time of your morning, afternoon, and evening. I know for some of you it was very early or very late, so it's really appreciated. This was Hanze University of Applied Sciences webinar in partnership with DocCity. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you thought. And tomorrow or Thursday, you will receive an email with all the information to apply, to get in touch with Hanze. Thanks once again, and see you soon. And stay well, stay safe. See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Right.